a lot of my work is around trying to effect change for people. I'm an advocate, and basically people come to me because they have an issue that they're not happy with. And so a lot of my job is around actually complaining. And it's funny because I go to other organisations, mostly mainstream ones, who say the trouble with organisations that black and minority ethnic communities is that they're very challenging. You know, it should be less challenging. And it's like, why is challenge bad? How do things change if you don't challenge? But whether you call it influencing, negotiating, whatever, it doesn't matter, that's just euphemisms. Challenging is good. Complaining is good. So in some ways, lawyers are professional complainers. We might say that we're advocates or whatever, but the point is that we're saying our client doesn't like what's happening at the moment. We want things to improve, and these are the ways that we want them to improve. And actually, you can take from that, everybody who's, whether you're actually trying to get your bills sorted out, or your child's school improved, or get some support for exporting, or whatever it is, the point about it is that you want other people to improve the services that are provided to you, so that you can get on and do what you want to do best. So in practice, I'm really trying to go out to people, a lot of the work I do around talking to victims of discrimination, and say, actually stop putting up with discrimination, challenge it, and society will get better. Because actually a lot of the victims of discrimination, some of the groups I work with, you know, whether it be people with mental health problems, or gypsies and travellers, or new migrants, or whatever, then they tend to put up with stuff rather than complaining. But stuff will not change if you don't complain. One of the things that councils say to me is that they don't hear enough information, but they're actually not that good at taking the information and using it and then feeding back. They're actually pretty poor at it in my experience. And so to a certain extent, we've got to work with councils to make them better at actually receiving things like complaints or even compliments sometimes. It's actually quite difficult to get councils to respond positively to people saying, I like this, I want more of this. So in practice, it's an education process both of the population to feel more empowered to complain, but also to say to people, to say to the councils, well, if somebody's complaining, listen to them. They're a really useful resource. It's one of the areas, the thing about being a discrimination lawyer is that the barriers go up as soon as you say, hang on, this person's been discriminated against. And actually councils are worse, whether it's council officers, councillors, or whatever, than the private sector. The private sector tend to say, you know, how do we resolve this problem as cheaply as possible? Whereas councils are, we're nice people, we don't discriminate. And it's getting over that emotional barrier of saying, actually, you're not doing things well, we'd like you to do things differently, and we'd like you to do things better. So in thinking about this, I've come up with some golden rules that I'd like to think about. Whether you're advocating for whatever you want to improve services, or you're trying to stop things from happening the way that they're happening, you're trying to negotiate something, you want a bigger grant, or you want whatever. It's all similar to sort of golden rules of complaining. So the first thing is, who's the right person to talk to? Now, councils, in my experience, don't make it very easy to work out who the right person to go to is. So you get a situation, let's say highways, where, you know, if you want to just complain about the road in Ipswich a long time ago, you go to Suffolk County Council, and then you'd have to go to Ipswich Borough Council, because they took over the service, and now it's back to Suffolk County Council. I don't really understand why the county council do some things, the district councils and the borough councils do other things. It seems to be mired in history. But you do need to understand we've got, in Suffolk, we've got parish councils, we've got town councils, we've got district councils, we've got borough councils, we've got county council. Yeah? Let alone all the sort of quasi-bodies like clinical commissioning groups and all the other people. So the first challenge for anybody, whether they're new to Suffolk or not, is working out who the right person to talk to. So the main thing is actually, the first question really you ask is, who am I needing to talk to about whatever? And that's your first challenge. But one of the things I'm going to say later to you is be persistent, don't give up, because councils are really good at making you so frustrated that you have to give up. But don't, please. The second thing is voice one issue at a time. The number of people who come and talk to me and their issue get sort of pushed off to talk about what happened to their great uncle and their washing machine and whatever, and you're like, hang on, you came to talk to me about your employment problem, and your great uncle's lovely and your washing machine's not working, but actually you want to talk to me about that issue. Too many issues will overwhelm the listener. So what's really important to you at that moment, focus on that and try not to put the subsidiary stuff in. If you're going to mention subsidiary stuff, try to find out whether it's actually relevant to the key subject. The next thing is, what are you hoping to gain by your approach? What's your goal? What does success look like? Is a really important question. Everybody who comes to see me doesn't know what that is. It's like, you've got a problem, what does achieving it, what's the positive outcome going to be? Yeah? Because actually you've also got to think about is what you actually want. And sometimes it's, well, I want everybody sacked, I want thousands of pounds of compensation, I want them all in jail, is not going to be achievable. So starting with what's achievable, what does success look like? Do you want an apology? Do you want compensation? Do you want them to actually provide you with the service that they should be providing you with? These are all quite important issues. The next thing is about getting anger under control. It's quite interesting. I had a conversation with somebody at lunchtime who said that somebody had accused them again of being too challenging. And I think actually we aren't challenging enough, but actually anger gets in the way. It's really difficult. You have to channel your anger. One of the things my colleague and I agreed on is that the word disappointed is a really helpful, loaded phrase. So you can be very disappointed with the service that you've been provided with. And I think it's really important that you stay angry, because you stay persistent if you stay angry, but try and channel it into some kind of righteous but controlled fury. One thing I would say though is don't let your anger and your bluster focus the venom on the person you're talking to, because they'll stop listening. Actually, most council officers, in my experience, are not corrupt. They actually want to do a reasonable job. They just want to get through the day as best they can. And therefore, having somebody letting rip about the fact that they've not had their bins collected for 2 weeks or whatever it is that they're particularly focused on, actually doesn't work. In practice, you've just got to keep it civil and you've got to be nice to the person, particularly the people that right at the bottom who haven't made the decisions in the first place. It's the people 4 or 5 levels above them who are making the daft decisions that you're not happy with. And sometimes it's worth sort of being extremely nice to the people at the bottom, because they'll usually get you a better access to the people who have actually made the decision in the first place. So get the listener on your side. Get them to know that you're a reasonable person who's actually going to not be too traumatic in dealing with, deal with the substance, and then find words to motivate that person to help you with your issue. Yes? It's going to be better that they help you than they don't help you. Yeah? And I say, be persistent. Find support from others. One of the things I've really noticed about people, when particularly if they're new to the area or new to the country, is that they're quite isolated and they don't realise that there are other people in the same situation. Councillors are elected and therefore they're interested in votes. MPs are elected. I suspect that 10 people going down to Mr Gummer's surgery would have more impact than one person going down to Mr Gummer's surgery, particularly if those 10 people say that they're going to tell 10 more people who will then in turn tell 10 more people. Yeah? Facebook is your friend and Twitter is your friend and all the rest of it. So definitely get support from others. And the thing is about it is quite often the issues are not really party political, if you see what I mean. They're just about trying to reframe the arguments. So if you just had your funding cut from your voluntary organisation, in practice, probably doesn't matter which party is in government at the precise moment as to whether that decision's been made. They're all a bunch of people who don't actually care about your interests. And in some ways you need to use that to actually remember that actually you don't want to frame it in a party political way. Particularly at Amador, I don't tend to get involved in politics because it's not helpful to me in my work. The point about it is you've got to find the decision maker and make it quite clear to him how it is better that they give you what you want rather than not give you what you want. And give compliments when they're due. One of the things about trying to keep a service. If you like a service and you want to keep it going, tell people that it's great, it works well, and the rest of it. People are quite shy of giving compliments. And then the decision has been made whether you're going to carry on with service A or service B. Loads of people have said, actually service A works really well, it's working for our community, it's a really good idea. Then that's good feedback for them. So hopefully it will keep going. So if things are working well, do give some good feedback. The challenge to the councils is using less information, because too often I will give them feedback through various panels that I belong to about things that people have told me, and then I might revisit the situation in 6 months' time. They will have done nothing with the information, and that's the most disappointing thing about it, is that intelligence, information as intelligence is really important, and it's very sad when I can send statistical analysis, I can send anecdotal information about things that are working and things that are working, and yet it just dies at that point. So you might as well not bother. That's the most frustrating thing. So my challenge to councils, to public bodies is, if people are giving you information, work out how you're going to use that in planning future activity, because otherwise they might as well not bother. And my message to everybody else is, please do challenge councils, because it's no good. I've worked in Ipswich for 6 years, and we've been basically I see black and minority ethnic communities being overlooked. And part of the reason they're overlooked is that you're all too nice, and you've got to get more of that righteous anger. And whether you call it positive things, and fiery spirits, and all the rest of it, part of it's about saying, we're here, we're contributing to the economy. I mean, I read a statistic, Fanwell will tell me if I'm right, 1 in 7 of all businesses in this country, a functioning business in this country, was started by a migrant.
No, 7 to 1.
Yeah.
7 migrant to 1.
No, it's 1 in 7, I think. Anyway. But in practice, that's a hugely important situation when, black minority ethnic community are a really important part of the business community, really important part of the civic community, and being overlooked is not only unfair, but it actually makes a real loss to society. So, thanks very much.